The two philosophers we're going to be discussing in this video are going to be Plato and Descartes. So with Plato, we're going to be discussing his work in Allegory of the Cave. His first main idea, his first big idea is that being educated or having understanding are of major importance when you're walking through life, and that your surroundings can influence your beliefs. Like a person who is uneducated becomes this prisoner of its mind, and they tend to have a fixed view of the world around them. So imagine you guys are, living in a small town. Like I'm from Philadelphia. It's not really a small town. We do believe certain things that we don't see or experience. We become prisoners of our minds because we don't know. His second main idea is that you escape, like say you go off to college and you go to a different country or you go to a different state and you experience something like, say you go down south or you go up north if you're living from Philly, and you experience different things. So now it's your job, once you've gained this knowledge, you have to keep learning, you have to keep understanding. And two, you have to go back. You have to help them. You have to, say, hey, you guys, this is what I've experienced. Take, for example, like you go on a trip and you experience so many things. Like you go out of the country and you experience, their customs. And you go back and you tell them all about it. Like we experience this stuff every day. And I feel like that's why it's really important. That's why these two main ideas are very important. You guys, you go on trips and you go when you experience different things and you come back. And it's your job to, tell people, hey, custom like that wouldn't be acceptable, in this area. Or, I experienced this and I think it's pretty cool. And I don't know, I want to tell you guys about it. But like my main concern, my biggest question with this is, what if they don't want to learn? What if you go back and you're like, hey guys, this is cool and I experienced this and this is so awesome and I really wanted to, I really wanted to tell you guys about it. What if they're like, we don't care? What are you supposed to do when that happens? How do you go on from there? How do you go on saying, hey, I want to help people learn and, I want them to experience, I want them to gain understanding of certain things when they don't care at all? How can I help? Now with Descartes, his ideas were sort of radical, depending on how you believe certain things. His first main idea, or his first question and how he got to it was, how do you get rid of false beliefs? And, and find, truth, just straight truth. How do you know when things are true? And the answer to that was radical doubt. So say you have a building, his answer was blow it up. Blow the whole thing up. The building's done. Blow it up from the foundation. Don't knock it down floor by floor. You blow the whole thing up. And with this, he was saying, you have to start over. You have to build a new foundation. And one of his foundation, with the second point, we're going to see, he was like, sense perception. Is that going to be my foundation? Meaning your senses, what we feel, what we see, what we hear, what we taste, what we touch. Is that going to be my new foundation? And the answer was no. So the answer was no. And now he goes, why? So he came up with a dream argument. Is what we feel, real? And the answer was no. And his argument for this was, he used to have dreams of him. He used to feel as though he was sitting next to his fireplace, just enjoying it. It felt so real to him. But really, it was just a dream and he was laying in his bed. So he thought, he was enjoying, a relaxing time by the fire. Enjoying life. But he wasn't. He was asleep. Catching Z's. And that's how he's like, hey, sense perception isn't always true. You can't always trust it. Now you can't trust it at all. Not completely, you can't trust it at all. But sometimes you can't trust it. And so his thing for that was, a thinking thing exists. So he thinks, therefore he knows. Which is where he got, that was where he ended up at. And I think these are important because, exactly, how do we know what we know is true? Descartes is questioning that. He's saying, how do I know what is true? And we go through that all the time. Like, is that true? Somebody tells you thing and you're like, oh, is that true? I heard it from this person, Or like you believe in a certain God and you're like, how do I know I'm supposed to believe in this God? And I think like the dream argument is very real because there's been experience. We've all had experience where you thought you got in an argument with somebody. You thought somebody said something to you and you got upset, or you thought, hey, that's cool. We'll do that. You planned plans with somebody and they're like, we never did that, and you had a dream. You were catching Z's, you know? You were catching Z's. And it never happened. And you thought it was so real. So I think the dream argument is something that we should think about throughout life. Now, my biggest question and concern with Descartes is when you knock everything down, when everything is done and you started over and you've had this new foundation and you're building up, how do you know that you didn't just start the same thing over again? That you didn't just go back to the building you just blew up? And I think that's one of my main concerns when you talk about Descartes and this meditations is just, how do I know that everything I've just knocked down, everything that I just thought I found out was true, how is that the truth? Now, with the two, what these two things have in common are just like I don't think they contradict each other. I think with Descartes and Plato, when you're really thinking about them, with Plato, he's just like, hey, you know, you go around and you learn and you find out the truth and you tell people. You tell them. You let them know what's going on. You know, and then, you know, word of mouth. It's not really word of mouth, but it's just, you know, you go around, you learn, you gain this understanding, and it's great, and you have to teach other people the knowledge. And what Descartes is saying, he's like, how do I know it's true? How do I know that these things I'm telling these people or these things I've learned are the truth? And am I doubting these beliefs? So I think they directly contradict in that way where Plato was like, understanding, you have to learn, you have to teach, you have to gain knowledge. And then Descartes is saying, hey, is it all real? And I think these are things that we have to think about when we're thinking about these two philosophers. Thank you.